To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. Thank you. Richard Stengel, the top state media appointee for former Vice President Joe Biden's transition team, has enthusiastically defended the use of propaganda against Americans. He said, quote, "My old job at the State Department was what people used to joke as the chief propagandist," end quote. Stengel said in 2018, quote, "I'm not against propaganda. Every country does it, and they have to do it against their own population, and I don't necessarily think it's all that awful," end quote. Richard Rick Stengel was the longest-serving Undersecretary of State for Public Diplomacy and Public Affairs in U.S. history. At the State Department under President Barack Obama, Stengel boasted that he started the only entity in government, non-classified entity that combated Russian disinformation. That institution was known as the Global Engagement Center, and it amounted to a massive vehicle for advancing U.S. government propaganda around the world. A committed crusader in what he openly describes as a global information war, Stengel has proudly proclaimed his dedication to the careful management of the public's access to information. Stengel outlined his worldview in a book he published this June entitled Information Wars: How We Lost the Global Battle Against Disinformation and What We Can Do About It. Stengel has proposed rethinking the First Amendment that guarantees the freedom of speech and press, and in 2018 he stated, quote, "Having once been almost a First Amendment absolutist, I have really moved my position on it because I just think for practical reasons in society, we have to kind of rethink some of those things," end quote. The Biden transition team's selection of a sensorial info warrior for its top state media position comes as a concerted suppression campaign takes a hold of social media. The wave of online censorship has been overseen by U.S. intelligence agencies, the State Department, and Silicon Valley corporations that maintain multi-billion-dollar contracts with the U.S. government. As the state-backed censorship dragnet expands, independent media outlets increasingly find themselves in the crosshairs. In the past year, social media platforms have purged hundreds of accounts of foreign news publications, journalists, activists, and government officials from countries targeted by the United States for regime change. Stengel's appointment appears to be the clearest signal of a coming escalation by the Biden administration of the censorship and suppression of online media that is seen to threaten U.S. imperatives abroad. Before being appointed as the U.S. Department's chief propagandist in 2013, Richard Stengel was the managing editor of Time magazine. In the Obama administration, Stengel not only created the Global Engagement Center propaganda vehicle, he also boasted that he, quote, led the creation of English for All, a government-wide effort to promote the teaching of English around the world, end quote. After leaving the State Department in 2016, Stengel became a strategic advisor to Snap Incorporated, the company that runs social media apps Snapchat and Bitmoji. Stengel also found time for a fellowship at the Atlantic Council, a think tank closely linked to NATO and the Biden camp, which has received funding from the United States government, Britain, the European Union, and NATO itself, along with a host of Western weapon manufacturers, fossil fuel corporations, Gulf monarchies, and big tech juggernauts. Stengel worked closely with the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensics Research Lab, a dubious organization that has fueled efforts to censor independent media outlets in the name of fighting, quote, disinformation. But Stengel is perhaps most well known as a regular political analyst on MSNBC. In the Donald Trump era on the network, he fueled Russiagate conspiracy theories, portraying the Republican president as a useful idiot of Russia, and claiming Trump had a one-sided bromance with Vladimir Putin. Stengel left MSNBC this November to join Biden's presidential transition campaign. He announced that he was tapped to lead the Biden-Harris Agency Review Team for the United States Agency for Global Media. This is Felicia Lockhart, and this has been the Lockhart Perspective.